Trenton asks this question. He says, "Can you show me now?" This Trenton's line of thought all has to do with Gentiles and the covenant obligations. That is the Torah or the law, right? So why should Gentiles keep the law? He says, "Can you show me the verse where it says the Gentiles are required to keep kosher in the end times? I'm very interested in that. Thank you. I mean this in a sincere way." Yeah, Leviticus 11. So we can go to pretty much any place in the Bible and show how the covenant applies to covenant members, right? Matthew 5:17 and following, right? So there's plenty of places where Romans 3:31. There's plenty of places where we can go and show that. First, let's build this case a little bit by showing that the covenant obligation is for Jew and Gentile. So Exodus 12:49. This is in the context of the Passover. There shall be one law for the native and for the stranger who sojourns among you. Interestingly, the opponents to one law theology will often say, well, this is only talking about the Passover. Well, to keep the Passover, a Gentile has to what? Be circumcised. Paul tells us that a person who is circumcised, the whole law applies to them, right? So the idea that a Gentile can be circumcised, celebrate the Passover, and then not keep the rest of the Torah, what are you talking about? That makes zero sense. Leviticus 7:7, the guilt offering is just like the sin offering. There is one law for them. Numbers 15:16, one law and one rule should be for you and for the stranger who sojourns with you. Numbers 15:29, you shall have one law for him who does anything unintentionally. This, by the way, is the reason that this has been called one law theology, right? So you can go through the Torah. There's plenty of places where the Torah is going to tell you there's one law for the sojourner or the stranger, however you want it, the ger, and one law for the native born. You can't separate the two. They are both covenant members, right? And we can show this even by the Exodus itself. There's a mixed multitude that comes out of Egypt, yet the mixed multitude, God doesn't say, hey, look, these laws are only for the native born, like the descendants of Jacob. All the other people who came out of Egypt, you just go do your own thing. Don't listen. Earmuffs, right? Like, don't listen to this part. He doesn't say that. No, everybody's to be circumcised. Everybody's to do these things. Everybody's to keep the Sabbath. Everybody's to keep the law. It is the covenant stipulations. Now, go to the apostolic scriptures, to the New Testament. Same thing. Christ never tells us, oh, by the way, these laws are not for the Gentiles.
That's right. What is confused often is what Paul's talking about. And when Paul seems to make these statements against the law, what we have to understand is Paul is clarifying for the Pharisees and other Jewish sectarians, as well as for Gentile believers, that righteousness is by faith.
Right.
A person who goes, oh, I think I'll be circumcised. Oh, now I'm righteous. That is bad theology. Paul would say that's sectarian. You're getting into like this little special sectarian holiness kind of movements where it's like, oh, we are like, we know how to wash our hands, right? And we wash our vessels, and we're not going to eat at your house because we don't know how you wash your hands and how you wash your vessels. And
same thing happens today, by the way. Oh, wait, you're a Gentile? I know people who remain in the Christian church probably haven't experienced this. Walk into a Messianic synagogue sometime. Ask how long it would take for your child to be able to have a bar or bat mitzvah, or for you to have a bar or bat mitzvah. There is a significant amount of Messianic places, and even Hebrew rooters, right, who will say, if you're not physically Jewish, you can't say these prayers. We have special prayers for you. If you're not physically Jewish, your kids can't have a bar or bat mitzvah. If you're not physically, there's all these different things. It is ridiculous. And I as I'm on a rant here, I want to address Gabby's question in the chat room. Gabby says circumcision physically or of the heart or both. Stupid question, probably. This is not a stupid question. In fact, I would say that the majority of our show revolves around this question. It is I think that this is where the crux of a lot of the misunderstanding of Torah has come from the Christian church. And the reason why is because you pull on a thread, and that thread is, here's the thread that the Christian church, overall, this isn't everybody, of course, but overall, this is the thread that the mainstream Christian church pulls on. We don't have to be circumcised physically anymore. Paul tells us that. That's the thread. And they start pulling on that. Well, if we don't have to be circumcised, then what? Well, we're not real. We don't.
Well, that's why is that? That's because that's ceremonial.
Yeah, exactly.
It must be the exemplar ceremonial law. Then all of a sudden you've smuggled in this concept of moral versus ceremonial versus civil, and you start thinking, oh, I'm learning to think like Paul thought. Paul's my teacher, and I'm actually taking Paul classes and learning how to think about the Torah. And yeah, that's what we got to hear Paul correctly, and he's not doing that.
Thank you so much for watching this video. Tell us your thoughts on this subject by leaving a comment in the comment section. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, and enable those notifications. And we'll see you in the next video.